Senhoras e senhores, dando continuidade à programação, nós vamos ter o prazer agora de conectar a realidade do Dr. Dutta com como é que os CIOs das empresas mais à vanguarda estão encarando a transformação digital. O título desse painel são as perspectivas dos CIOs dentro de um contexto de transformação digital. Para liderar esse painel, o moderador é Danil Kerimi, da Electronics Industry, World Economic Forum. Como responsável no fórum, ele cuida justamente da indústria de tecnologia e eletrônica. E cuida justamente para dar orientação e norte às políticas que são realizadas para os governos poderem orientar as suas estratégias de transformação digital. Antes de participar do World Economic Forum, Danil teve várias posições, uma delas no escritório da United Nations para controle de drogas e crimes, e numa organização voltada para segurança e cooperação na Europa. Ele tem também uma graduação em cima da Shandong University de Viena e também participa da Global Leadership Fellowship, que é oferecida pela World Economic Forum. Por favor, Dani. Please, Dani. Junto com ele, junto com Danil, nesse painel, temos também Jose-Miguel Calderon-Carpio, e ele é responsável por toda a tecnologia da informação da Johnson Pharmaceutical Group e as companhias na América Latina e no Caribe. Ele é um membro também da Janssen Latin American Board, e esse Janssen não tem nada a ver comigo, viu? Senão eu não estaria aqui. De qualquer maneira, continuando... ele, antes de assumir a posição na JJ, ele também serviu como diretor para a América Latina da Microsoft, cuidando das verticais de governo e das indústrias de saúde. Por favor, uma salva de palmas para o Jose-Miguel. Por último, queremos chamar Sean McCormack, que é o CTO da Harley-Davidson, provavelmente um dos maiores desejos de consumo da maioria da galera que está aqui. Levanta a mão, quem quer uma Harley? Ok, Sean, you're in. Então, ele é responsável por todo o processo de manufatura, varejo e finanças em todos os eventos da Harley-Davidson. Ele cobre diversas áreas que incluem tecnologia, estratégia, arquitetura, inovação e operações globais. Por favor, uma salva de palmas para Sean McCormack. Danil, the floor is yours.
Good morning to everyone. It's absolute pleasure to be here today. We realize that this is the last panel before your lunch, so we'll try to be short, precise, and entertaining. As Robert has already mentioned, my name is Danil Kerimi. I work with the World Economic Forum covering IT and electronics industry, and our panels, I'm sure, will join me in thanking World IT and Services Alliance, as well as ACERPRO, federal and local governments for their tremendous hospitality. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here. We have the most fascinating panel with representatives of healthcare and manufacturing sector. You've heard their bios. I will add a little bit of a flavor to them, perhaps with things that are a little bit more personal and entertaining so you can relate. We will then have them speak for about 5-7 minutes each. You are welcome to raise your hand at any stage and ask the questions as they go. You don't have to wait till the end to ask your questions. So please just if you find the speaker said something, you want a little bit more information, you want to ask a clarifying question, raise your hand and we'll give you this opportunity. Now, Jose-Miguel, in addition to being a CIO for Johnson Pharmaceutical for Latin America, is a proud father of two great boys. One is about to become a biologist, and the second one is a very talented mathematician with a keen interest in performing arts and electric guitar. He is also a very proud owner of a very sad dog, Connie, who misses him every time he travels. All right, well, Jose-Miguel, let's start with you. What is that a typical question in this environment is what keeps you at night? I know that you travel so much and you have such a huge team that nothing keeps you at night. If you're out, you're out. But what is the first thing that you actually think after you walked your dog? What are the things that keeps you awake? What are you proud when you sit down with your family or at the breakfast table? What is it that you are excited about?
Actually up at night is that still there are many patients waiting. I mean, there is so much need in the pharmaceutical industry, and we really need to keep doing more and more things. And I think that right now we are in the middle of a transformation of the industry. And for the first time ever, this transformation is because of technology, not only because of science. And this transformation means that the business requires much more from IT. Not only the traditional efficiency, but also much, much better outcomes for patients, for caregivers, and for payers, as the government. And of course, they also want we to help us to have the best possible new innovative products. Okay, so what we try to do in order to make that happen is to focus on every investment that the business does on IT really helps that transformation. Really makes that happen. And it makes that in a way where security and compliance is absolutely critical. And also everything is done by people that stay with us and really grow with us.
So how do you actually manage to help them stay and grow? The talent, the people, how do you develop your people that work with you on a daily basis? How do you attract, the competition is tremendous.
Yes. Basically, what we have right now is it's difficult to really find the talent that we need in companies as my company. Because you need people that really understand very, very well the cloud, but also they need to understand biology, they need to understand digital healthcare. So the pool of talent is really, really difficult. What we are doing is trying to, we go from college, we go, outside to the market, and we have, I think, a very, very nice human resources department that works with us every day. Really, I think I'm more time with human resources than with any other department, and we have a career for all and each one of them. We really, when we talk about the person we know, what is the best thing that we can do for this person to be successful now in the next 2 to 3 years for every single person in my team. So we are able to really attract, but more important, to develop and make people to stay with us.
And can you already attract from the pool that is out there a biologist who understands the local regulation and can code, or do you have to develop those skills in-house? So you start from some point and then kind of help them grow.
I think that is always a miss, isn't it? Sometimes there are brilliant people outside my company, from other companies. There are people that come from outside. Actually, I'm an outsider from pharma. I moved to pharma just a few years ago. So we really are willing to have all those points of view. We have people, from near every country, from different backgrounds, and everything adds a lot. When you get in a company as my company, the corporate culture helps a lot to really grow, I think, in the right direction. And really taking care of their development is one of the, I think, more critical things that you can do.
Excellent. Let me switch for a second to Sean and then invite everyone to start thinking about the questions that they may want to ask to both Jose-Miguel and Sean. So as you've heard, Sean is the CTO of Harley-Davidson. He was born, if I may say, in the most golden location in the world, in Fort Knox. He has moved 31 times in his life. And as a matter of fact, he was so tired of moving that he almost missed an opportunity at Harley-Davidson. We are, of course, very glad that he hasn't, because we have a tremendous panelist with us here today. Now, Sean, as you, not everybody in this room can say that, my product has been in the latest Avengers movie, or my customer base is so devoted they actually tattoo the name of my company on their bodies. How do you actually take an industrial icon and move it into the digital age?
So I think that's something we spend a lot of time thinking about. You know, you just asked what keeps you up at night. For me, that's one of the biggest questions. A lot of people don't realize it, but Harley-Davidson is actually in multiple industries. So everybody knows we make motorcycles, hopefully. But we're also in banking. So we have Harley-Davidson Financial Services. We're in the retail space. We have over 1,400 dealerships throughout the world. We do global events with 500,000, 1 million people. We do software. We have Harley-Davidson dealer systems, e-commerce, et cetera. All of those are areas that are being disrupted, each of those industries individually. And so we're spending a lot of time looking at digital, and our definition of digital is how do I take the physical world and the virtual world, an app or something, and just connect those two to provide relevance. And I think especially when you look at younger generations, I have a 13-year-old daughter, they think completely different. So it's really important for us to have those capabilities.
I think that is a key point, how to connect to the millennials.
Yep.
I know that you also have a personal in-house experience and experimentation, but also how do you actually try to reach out to this younger generation?
Yeah. I'll give you a good example. One of the challenges that we have today at Harley-Davidson is a lot of the dealerships that we have aren't located in the center of cities. But if you look at population trends, people are becoming more and more concentrated within cities. So our focus is how do we have more relevance within urban areas. A simple way to do that is we're developing the concept of pop-up shops. A pop-up shop is a mobile dealership that we can bring into any event. So let's say you have the Country Music Awards. Let's say within Brazil you have a big park that a lot of people are going to be at. How do we develop the capability to bring a dealership to the people? And this is something we've piloted. It's pretty cool. We have things like RFID tables. A person can bring up a product, put it on the table, and the table will give them information on the product. Interactive wall where you can walk up and the wall will interact with you. 360 motorcycle experience, so you can sit on a motorcycle and we have a dome that lets you see what it's like to go on a ride. Mobile integration, kiosks. So to me that's something that's very relevant. It's very high tech, it's very connected, and it's meeting people where they are versus always expecting them to come to a dealership.
I know also that you're personally a big fan of moving the whole motorcycle experience into the digital age, so the product itself. It's very widely known that now the cars are becoming basically computers on the wheels, and I know that you are moving in that direction. Anything that particularly excites you around it, be it on the maintenance side or experience side?
Yeah. So we have a couple things we've done. One is infotainment. We have a pretty cool infotainment system. Especially on the larger bikes, interactive touch screens, and you can do music and ride planning, all kinds of things there. I think you've seen that come out in cars, and I think there's a lot of promise for that within the motorcycles. Another thing is we have an electric bike. We have a concept that went out to the market about a year ago, and that's something we're actively developing and expect to have out in the market soon. And I think a lot of people get excited when they see that too, especially younger generations that care about sustainability and impact to the environment. That's a really cool product.
They know what to say. It's not about technology, it's about the people, so it must be something about what I've done wrong. Good, well, fascinating. Let's see, we have two very different industries in a way, but I like, Sean, what you have mentioned, that we traditionally thought about as being in the manufacturing, like heavy industry, but we actually now in financial services, we're in entertainment, we're in the consumer goods. Similar to what we had a discussion with Miguel, he goes, well, we have to connect, we have to do our internal systems, we have to connect to the customers, but we also have huge R&D, and the stuff that you mentioned in the cloud. So how do you actually define your industries? And today we're speaking to a lot of industry representatives that need to think about partnerships, not think of themselves as partners, not necessarily as vendors. Any messages to the industry you want to give right now? Either one of you, welcome.
For us, it's very important that our partners, and let me emphasize the concept of partners. In Johnson&Jonhsons, there is a very important document that is 70 years old, that is our credo. And our credo says that we need to secure that our partners make profit. This is very important for us. We really want to have partners. We see a lot of opportunities for partnership, more and more. Right now, with digital healthcare, the opportunities for partnership are amazing. But what's the first thing I would like to share with our partners is we need them to understand our industry. We're a highly regulated industry. They really need to understand what we can do and what we cannot do. So every proposal has to be an agile proposal, has to be a proposal that really, uses the opportunity of the cloud, because we need to keep being there. It's paid by performance or paid by use. Let's go to innovative way of paying. Again, these proposals are really connected with our business needs. That with the way they explain this proposal is fully connected to the outcomes that we are going to have with this proposal.
Could you be a little bit more specific and perhaps give a couple of examples?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For instance, we see a lot of opportunities to be able to reach much better to our patients, to secure that they understand how to use the medicines and that they keep using the medicine as the doctor requests them to use. We need to, so we continue helping in the house. We can use our partners to do better testing, recruiting people, etc. We can use our partners to really do much better research, faster research in order to find better medicines in a shorter time and a lower price. There is an amazing amount of opportunities for partners to come with us.
Excellent. Sean, you want to?
Now can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So I think there's three key things we need. The first one is connectivity, and I loved what Dean Dutta was talking about as far as the analysis that they've done. Connectivity is still a major problem for us. We have operations in multiple countries throughout the world. We have manufacturing plants here in Brazil. We have manufacturing plants in India. We have corporate facilities all throughout the world, Asia, etc. And connectivity is still a problem, especially in emerging countries. Oftentimes you'll find the cellular network provides better connectivity than the wired network. And when you're trying to run operations and plants, etc., that's a major challenge. Especially something called the last mile, which is where you have remote areas, being able to get connectivity to those remote areas. So I think that's the first challenge. The second one is modernization. Any enterprise that has been in business for a long time, and Harley, we've been around for 113 years, there's a lot of legacy technologies that accumulate within those companies. And I'm sure Johnson&Johnson has this challenge, a lot of the other people that are here now. We need much better solutions from the industry on how to modernize those technologies. Oftentimes it's very difficult, it's very costly. There's phenomenal capabilities that a lot of the vendors here can bring to the market, but if we can't find an easy path to get to those, it makes it much more difficult for us. So the second thing is modernization. And the third one, and this is more for government, but we're seeing a lot of regulations get introduced into the market that are in often cases burdensome, whether it's taxation that's being placed on companies for technology, data privacy regulations, etc. And we're seeing some countries now that are forcing corporations to actually store user data physically in that country, which if you know anything about technology, and I think most of the people here do, that's really inefficient, and it makes it much more costly for us to do business. And it actually, in some cases, is determinant for us on what countries we're going to go into. So I think the third thing is regulations, and how do we have regulations that make sense and help protect individual privacy and revenue, et cetera, but aren't burdensome to corporations.
Excellent. I would like to expand a little bit on that point. There are many people from the government, for both federal and locals here, as well as a number of organizations such as IADB, OECD, UNCTAD, that work directly with the governments. And all these people can attest that to get that balance of regulation is extremely hard. You want to make it as easy for business as possible, but you also have other priorities, privacy protection and consumer protection and so on. Any messages you want to put out to the governmental leaders as they think about it, anything that can help them to navigate these different priorities? Because even if we talk, let's say, it's always very people talk about private cooperation on cybersecurity, let's say, and they always forget that public itself is a very multi-dimensional beast. So that it has to finance research in cyber, it has to protect, it has to prosecute, and so on. So it's even within any of these sectors, there are multiple priorities. Similarly, for the private sector, you have to serve your customer base, you have to adhere to regulations, but you also have to innovate very quickly. Anything that you want to give the government, to leave to the government here specifically in terms of how they can think about it, these very complex issues?
Yeah. So just to follow up on the point, I think you have to remember that the internet truly is a global platform, and we see this. I mean, we have a global conference here that's bringing us together primarily because of those technologies, but a lot of governments today aren't operating that way. They're treating the technology as a national technology. You see that with net neutrality. So there's a lot of debates now on which countries can control the internet. You're seeing it as far as fragmentation of infrastructures. Now you have countries that want to go completely outside of the existing infrastructures and control those. You're seeing it again with data privacy regulations and laws. It makes it extremely difficult to be able to operate on a global scale. So I think the big request for me would be, remember it's a global platform, and as much cooperation and standardization can occur between governments, the better, because ultimately it benefits each individual country along with the customers.
Great.
We have been working with government from a long time as a pharmaceutical company, and I think that we make a lot of progress so far. I mean, in 2018, 85% of our data will be on the cloud, and it's gigantic amount of information, maybe 2.5 times what IRS, the
2.5 times?
2.5 times what IRS has is what we have in 2018 in the cloud. So it's a lot of information, and we have made a lot of progress. But still, I think that there are two areas where we can even better. Perhaps one of them is standards. Imagine that your phone, that you have your phone, whatever country you are, and maybe even the same phone, you need to have a different phone if you are from a different country. It used to happen in the 80s. In the 80s, your phone only worked in your country or even in Europe or even the US. You need to have a different phone to call to other guys. So it's not the way. Imagine that the electronic health record, what your medical information is in a common format, one format that we all can use. The benefit for the humanity is like having an IP, the concept of IP, really will be amazing. So, I mean, we need not only one government or one organization to do, this is my standard for the electronic health record. Let's have one standard, whatever standard will work, one standard for electronic health record, so we will be able to move in a much, much faster way. And it's not something that one government can do. It has to be most of the government together, helping to progress human health. That is the objective. Also, today we have big data. In order to convert this big data in what I call smart data, we need to be able, in a, of course, fully compliant way, to share information all across the world to understand how a new medicine really works outside the laboratory or outside the medical trials. You need to be able to really compare things, and many, many times regulations don't allow to do these kind of things that can really help us to find new ways of new treatments in a faster and better way. So this is for me perhaps my two asks.
Very good. Let's shift gear a little bit and talk about your personal journey. How did you get into these positions? Because that's always very fascinating. Was it by, the first time I saw this weird thing sitting on a desk that occupied half of the desk and called computer, I fell in love, I knew I wanted to be a CIO. Was it luck and providence? So how do you, can you describe that a little bit? And also mention, it would be funny, I think, for the group to know, when was your first email sent and to whom you sent it?
That's good.
If you remember.
Yeah, I can tell you. I was 15 or something like that. The first time I saw a computer, I absolutely fell in love with the opportunity to use this kind of machine. It was like something magic. And from then I knew that I really would like to invest my life working with computers. And at the very first period of my life, maybe 10 years, my focus was most technology. But then I realized that the important by itself is not technology anymore, it's the impact that technology can do in lives of people. So I moved to work basically with government and health organizations to really make a difference. That's the reason I'm now working with a healthcare company that really cares about to improve healthcare in the world. Because, when you have the opportunity to talk to patients that have use a breakthrough designation, new medicine, and they tell you that, okay, I had the opportunity because I'm living more than I was supposed to see my first grandson or to attend to my daughter's wedding. Really, for me, it's really important. So that's the reason that I'm so happy with what I'm doing, helping the company to really move on in that direction.
And the email?
I was in a company that was from Germany. The name is Software AG. At that time, and before having formal email, we have like a private email for an organization, and the product was Connect. In the 1989. So the first email that I used was that email, Connect in 1989. And I think that was a test to maybe to my boss or to a colleague, something like that.
Cool, excellent. Sean?
So my journey was a very unique one. I actually started in the military and military intelligence, and part of my focus was the Middle East, Arabic language, and some other things. And there was a project that the military had where they wanted to find a way to develop language training software for soldiers, diplomats, other people. At the time, the only way you could learn a language was you went to school, you did some type of home study course, and the belief was there was a lot of skepticism on whether language-based software could be developed. So I got pulled into that project. We ended up doing a lot of cool stuff with Georgetown University Press, Yale University Press, a lot of the different governmental agencies. And that gave me a skill set that once I got out of the military, went to college, I needed to make money while I was in college, so I started up my own company, and that's how I got kind of into the IT world. And for me, it was just a passion. To me, computer languages are similar to languages like German and Arabic and anything else. It just really clicked. The first email was when I was at the Air Force Academy. I had met my wife, and she lived in Wisconsin, I was in Colorado, and the only way we could communicate was through email. And every night, they would have lights out at 10 o'clock. The entire place had to shut down, you had to be in bed, and I would stay up late, and I'd send emails to her, and she'd send emails back. And my roommate absolutely hated me because he could never sleep because I would just tap on the keyboards. But that's how I really got into email, was dating my wife.
Nothing has changed. She keeps calling you.
That's right, yeah. She was calling me last night. It doesn't change.
Fascinating, fascinating. I would like to actually bring the audience, if possible. And there's already first question, David.
Does this work? Okay. So my name is David Nordfors. I work with I4J, Innovation for Jobs, something that I'm running together with Vint Cerf, and we're having our panel on Wednesday. But the question to you is, let's say pretend I'm the Minister for Finance of a country, and I come to you guys and I say, listen, we have Stone Age ways of getting economical indicators that we plan our budgets with. We want to do this with big data. We want to see more in real time what people are doing and spend our tax money much better. So you guys have almost better big data than we do. So can we have access to your big data? And what would you want to have in return in that case? It's an offer.
I'm not sure if I get there's a lot of noise, I get the question, but I understand that the question is about having access to our big data.
Yes, you have a lot of big data which is confidential, which is only for your company, and you have the same on user behavior, on lots and lots of things which today is completely closed. I would like to have access to that in aggregate form in order to make better health budgets, in your case, maybe better education budgets in your case, because, you know, who knows, maybe your video games are going to get so cool that nobody wants to buy the bike anymore, just go for the games, who knows. Anyway, sidetrack. I would like to have APIs into your big data that I can run for the Minister for Finance so we can do better budgeting. And what would you want from me in return?
That's a good question. I mean, but you start with suppose that we are, I mean, our R&D, where our big data is like a closed organization. In Johnson&Johnson, basically, the half of the budget of our R&D, maybe internal, but half of the budget is to work with external companies to create share IP with other companies. Right now, we have 4 large innovation centers. We have, and I expect to do the right number, 140. We are creating 140 companies that will help to accelerate the developing of new medicines. Okay, so in order to do that, we have a lot of techniques. Actually, we are in Brazil today. We are partnering with the government of Brazil because there is one very important medicine for this country, for a key area in this country. And we are transferring all the intellectual property of this product to the government so the government can build itself the product for the next 10 years. So we really want to work with the society, okay, in a way that that makes sense for the society and has a reciprocal benefit. We are right now doing that, your suggestion, with the Brazilian government today, and many other governments across the world, of course.
Yeah, I think today a lot of that information is aggregated, so it would be interesting to understand what type of information you're looking for. But if you look at, especially the automotive industry, manufacturing industry, you have a lot of consortiums, a lot of organizations where all that information is traded across multiple suppliers, multiple vendors, trends are developed. So my guess would be a lot of that information is there today, and maybe the question is more, how quickly can you get to it?
Did I see the hand go up here, please?
Thank you so much. I just want to raise two questions, pertinent questions. First one is, oh, by the way, I'm Stan from Malaysia. Given in the work that you do in the last 3 months, what has been some of the challenges that you face in the organization from a work perspective? Second question is that now that you engage yourself into uplifting the company, bringing technology and raising the level with all this stuff that you do so that you could improvise business from a business perspective. But how do you engage the customers? As you raise the level of technology and the work that you do in your organization, but how do you then engage the customer from an end-to-end perspective? Those are the two questions I have.
Those are great questions. Thank you very much. I like your time frame, 3 months. I think the technology is moving so quickly that 3 months is actually perhaps the right timeline for this. Do you want to start? Sean, do you want to start?
So I think, and you were asking about it at a global perspective, you're just seeing a lot of economic challenges right now that are impacting not just Harley-Davidson, I mean every company out there, whether it's exchange rates, oil, recessions occurring within different countries, political climate. There's so much right now that's impacting that, and it's making it very hard, I think, for a lot of companies just to know what's coming. How do you plan appropriately as a business? On the customer side, I think have just a fabulous voice of the customer program. Obviously, we're able to go out, so once a year at a minimum, every executive in the company has to go out to a customer event, actually meet with customers, talk to them. We have Walk a Mile, which is where we have our employees go work at dealerships and actually see what that's like. We have a voice of the customer program when we're designing motorcycles, designing clothes, etc. We are dealing directly with the customer, getting their input. We have pretty amazing communities. We have the Harley Owners Group, which is just a worldwide community of people that we're able to meet with and talk to and pilot different things. So a lot, that's probably one of the biggest focuses for us, is just having that direct customer engagement.
Let me start with the customer. Okay, we are trying to be a customer-centered company. We review all our processes in order to secure that each one of our processes is around the customer. And let me tell you, we have 3 different kinds of customers. We have the patients, we have the doctors, and we have the payers. And we need an ecosystem, a full ecosystem, to really have the level of access that we need to have so we can really make a difference in this and any other country. So for us, the customer is absolutely critical. Depending on what customer, the way we work with them is different. We try to use the latest technologies to really educate healthcare practitioners on some breakthrough designation, something that is really new, that will make a lot of difference, because this new procedure, this new medicine will really make a difference. We want to help our patients to secure that they really use every medicine appropriately and is the right medicine for the right patient. The worst thing you can do is to have the wrong medicine, really, that will not help. And also to help our patients with economic models that will help them to really maximize their budget and make things as they have to do. Okay. On the other question, I think that I'm all along with you. I'm not about to add.
So basically, the biggest worry in the past 3 months had nothing to do with tech. It was all about kind of broader macroeconomic and geopolitical considerations. Interesting. Please.
Bom dia, meu nome é Gerino Xavier. Eu sou vice-presidente da ACESPRO, da área de comunicação. Muito se fala que as empresas pequenas e as startups em especial tem muita velocidade quando se fala de inovação. Qual é a política das empresas dos senhores de relacionamento com essas empresas e essas inovações? Há uma formalidade neste relacionamento? Vocês têm algum programa de aproximação, de desenvolvimento? Como funciona na indústria de vocês isso?
Could we perhaps ask Robert for a very quick, I think we got the gist of it, but if you could just summarize the question in English for the panelists. By next year's Congress, this will be solved. Technology will be so advanced, we will do it.
So what he's trying to find out is if there's any specific program designed to actually go after startups and more agile companies who seem to be faster to market than the big companies.
Thank you. Thank you both. Who wants to start?
Yeah, so within Harley-Davidson, we have a digital innovation group, and their entire focus is engaging with startups. We have really good relationships with startups, accelerators, venture capital firms, universities, and the whole focus is trying to very quickly identify technologies that we think are relevant for our company, bring them in very quickly, test them out, see if those are things we want to continue pursuing, and then if so, having a more formalized process. But it's something that's worked really well for us. The mobile pop-up shop that I talked about, that's an example of a startup that we actually came across, said we think there's value in trying this out, and that's how we got it into the company.
In J&J, we are working, always with universities. We are all working all across the world with very prestigious organizations that help us to really bring the most innovative technologies. And we really have a lot of programs, a lot of collaboration. And not only to find new products, new medicines, but also to secure that the future lines that we do are the lines that are more in need. Because this is very important for us. We don't want to do a new medicine, but there are a lot of medicines already available for that specific field. We prefer to focus on areas where there is an unmet need, where it really is going to make a difference. So we prefer to invest, because again, when we invest something, we make an investment and it's going to have a return maybe in 10 or 15 years, because you don't know exactly what's going to happen. It really takes a long time. So we really work with these organizations to secure that we are doing the right thing as much as possible.
Please, there's another question. You already have the mic. You will be next. Please, go ahead.
Eu sou analista do Ministério Público da União e a minha questão diz respeito a esse uso das nuvens para uso corporativo, depois que a gente teve aquelas denúncias do Snowden sobre espionagem, onde se dizia que se você tiver um e-mail, o NSA consegue saber tudo da pessoa em qualquer canto do mundo, inclusive com a nossa ex-presidenta. O próprio a empresa do Assange, né, fez várias revelações sobre esse tapete da espionagem e em contraponto a essa viabilidade dos negócios de utilizarem a Big Data fora das fronteiras, que isso talvez seja o que foi levantado aqui, que se você tiver que colocar na fronteira do país os dados, isso deixaria inviável a utilização. Como comportar isso? Nós já tivemos no Brasil, por exemplo, na época da licitação do Civan, um uso da CIA, se eu não me engano, para levantar que nosso Congresso estava fazendo negociações secretas com a Rafale, que isso estaria contrariando os interesses americanos. E, ao mesmo tempo, o próprio MPU, de vez em quando, está brigando aí com Facebook, com Microsoft, com WhatsApp, porque tem denúncia de algum crime, tipo crime de ódio, pedofilia, e tem uma dificuldade muito grande de abrir esses compartimentos de dados que estão fora do Brasil. Aí fica aquele desbalanceamento. As empresas estrangeiras têm fácil acesso através das agências, enquanto que as nossas instituições nacionais têm essa dificuldade de conseguir acessar esses dados.
Thank you very much for that question. Of course, the advancements in digital economy are only possible if there is a strong foundation of trust in the technology and the systems and so on. Let me actually add even to that question, as we, just because of the time is running out, as we are increasingly moving not only of the Internet of People, but Internet of Things, how do we actually prevent that Internet of Things becomes Internet of Threats? Anyone wants to pick up?
Let me take it. I mean, I think that perfect security does not exist. But let me use a metaphor. I mean, imagine that tomorrow a bank is robbed. Okay, does it mean that you cannot use a bank anymore? Is it better to have the money in your house, or is it better to have it in the bank? I believe that it's better to have in the bank. But there is no a 100% safe bank. It does not exist. Nothing can be 100% safe. It's just impossible. What we do in our companies, we don't have all the data on the cloud. We have an important percentage of data on the cloud because we follow 100% of the regulations. This is something that is 100%. Every regulation, every compliance is followed 100%. So some data is in the cloud, some data is in the country, according to the country laws. But what we try to do is that what we have in the cloud is the best possible security that is available worldwide. Okay, that's exactly what we try to do. And so far, everything is good, and we really feel that the benefits of being able to access to information, to really discover and really understand how to help in a better way to the patients, should keep to be our way of working. And it will require, at some point, having data on the cloud and having the IoT, the deep analytics, digital science things running against this data. Of course, all the data that is in the cloud is anonymized, and this is very, very important. You need to be very smart, and you need to have data that is stolen, is anonymized, so it's difficult to use. Okay, the use that we do of this data is basically, again, discover how a medicine can do better and what is the best patient for this medicine. This is the basic objective that we have with this data.
You're always going to have international actors that are going after data, and I'm personally just not convinced that establishing more regulations or national walls, different ways to try to secure that data is going to stop that from happening. It's always going to happen. I think the more you can centralize those capabilities and have very advanced companies help protect it, that's where you can get value. And so like you were saying with cloud, there are technology companies out there that have amazing capabilities and as much as possible are working to secure that data. And I think there's more value in that approach versus the isolationist approach. And that's just my personal opinion.
Okay,
Please.
we have here. Danil?
Yes.
We have time only for one more question before we have the next event. I'm going to pass
Good.
on over.
The gentleman here has been very patient. If we may.
Then I'll give you two.
All right. Let's collect them, actually. Why don't we have two of them at a time, okay? Please.
Nice to meet you. My name is Rafael. I work for the Federation of Industries of Rio de Janeiro State. So considering the IoT world, I would like to know if you have seen any change in the skills required to your IoT, to your IT workforce.
Great. What was the second question? Where was the second question from?
Thank you. I forgot to ask you just now because I didn't have time to ask, but very importantly, you have three pillars, the organizations, you have business and IT. How do you deal and manage the change management? How do you deal with that when you bring in IT?
Sorry, Robert, we'll stay here for another half an hour just talking about change management.
I mean, the power of synthesis.
Let me start with, you already mentioned change management is really one of the most important things that you need to do. It's not only about pharmaceuticals, about IT is all about change management. You need to really have much, much better processes. And change management is super important. You change the way you educate people, you change the way you reach people, you change the way you do research, you change near everything. So change management is one of the capabilities that we need to do, that we need to have, more important for us. Actually, I would like to link more with that because, I mean, it's impossible. I mean, there is no way that today, if you're in college, you are going to study what is going to be important in the next 10 years. It's impossible because it's not been invented. So for me, it's not that important that you already know everything that is going to happen, because you are not going to know. That you are able to really manage change management. That's one of the critical capabilities. That you are able to understand a business and be able to connect the business needs with the IT capabilities. And these IT capabilities are going to be ever changing, absolutely ever. For me, it's so important that people are willing to learn more and more, instead of, okay, this is what I need. This is, okay, my master, my PhD, whatever is about this, no. It's an ongoing learning path. So we're working a lot with millennials right now. We have a lot of programs with millennials that are much more familiar with the new things, but we have people that are in their 50s, and they are also willing to learn because they are feeling motivated. So both things are really interconnected. After IoT, something new is going to come, for sure, and something else. So we really want to have people motivated to keep learning all their lives.
I think for IoT, the two biggest skill sets I see becoming very critical, one is around product design. So the physical product design, for example, I'm wearing a Fitbit. What does that product design look like? What's the user experience? It's something that traditionally IT people haven't had to deal with as much. So I think that's one, and the second one is really around data and analytics. Just being able to take all that information from the sensors, make sense of it, use it for business purposes. Those are the two skill sets. As far as change management, like we said, I mean, we could talk forever on that. I think for me, there's three things that are really important. One is having absolutely clear decision rights. If you're driving a change, but you don't have the ability to use a carrot or a stick, then you probably shouldn't be leading that change, because you have to be able to enforce the behaviors that you want to change. So I think that's the first one. The second one is having a very simple message, something that just resonates with people. I think analogies work really well, but something that people just understand. It's not overly complicated. And you explain to them what the new norm is that you're looking for. And then I think the third one is an emotional connection. So helping them understand the change rationally, but also how does it manifest itself emotionally, because that's what gets people to move. And I think if you have those three things, chances are you'll be successful with change.
We looked back, and you remembered your moments on when the first email has been sent and to whom you sent it. Let's look a little bit in the future. So let's say by next year's Congress, what is it that you're really excited to have tried by then in 1 year's time? So, for example, is it you finally put the autopilot on a car, or what is it that you next year say, I tried it, it's absolutely fantastic, and some of the guys in the room have held it to happen?
So I'm fascinated by autonomous vehicles. Just personally, it's something that I find absolutely fascinating. I think it's coming much faster than people realize. Tesla's definitely on the forefront of that. I could talk for hours on what I think the impact will be to society. There's a lot of fascinating things, but that's one that I personally haven't tried yet, and I would love to try out and see, how real is it.
In a personal arena, I mean, I absolutely love cars, so I think that what you mentioned about autopilot, auto driving, and whatever that is so near is one of the things that personally is going to make me happy.
Excellent, good. Well, thank you very much for being a tremendous audience. Thank you very much for your insights and the conversation. I tremendously enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Robert. The floor is yours.